Hey, what's going on, family? Um, Again, I know I haven't been making videos as much as I'd like to, or I would, or probably some of y'all would like me to. But I'm just busy, and I mean, really, even more than my time, that's making me not make videos as often as I like is really just since I decided to stop doing videos where I showed my face because of obvious reasons about employment in this society. It's just annoying to have to go to Movie Maker and you know upload the little clip and upload my voice, which that doesn't take too long. But then like when I make it into a movie that can be uploaded to YouTube, it takes like always takes like 2 hours, and that's just that shit's aggravating to me. Like I don't have it's like ain't nobody got time for that. But all in all, I still should be making more videos. But anyway, today's subject I wanted to talk to you guys about, and there's been a lot of subjects that I've been wanting to that I've had on my heart, but I haven't really made videos about them like I should have. I've just like gone on Twitter rants or whatever. Is this election that's coming up very soon? Now, as you can see on my channel, I made a part one to why are black people voting, and I still maintain that stance. And I'm gonna put an article I also wrote in the description box to show that I've been saying this for months. But I want to start by saying Hillary is, or Killary, a terrorist, is going to be elected. Now, I suspect that Trump may have been a selected foil to Hillary, like basically selected to lose. But basically that he was selected to lose. And I think that maybe what wasn't calculated and whoever is controlling, because like I said, I do suspect this. I could be wrong. Trump could actually be genuinely chosen by the people, which also makes a lot of sense because it proves how many white supremacists we have out here in 2016. But the point that I wanted to make overall was there's no way that Hillary is going to lose. I believe that those tapes about him grabbing the pussy were known about before he even started running for president and were held out just in case he got too big. Because what I think is that he was selected to lose. That's why he can go out here and say all this outlandish shit. But all it's done is galvanize his supporters. There's obviously what Hillary has done to black people here. Okay, well let me rewind a little bit. Barack Obama. This is why I suspect that presidents are selected and not elected. Barack Obama was put into office at a time and where what you have to understand is you have to understand the global context of what's going on in the world. And there's now a new race for the resources of Africa. Like you can research this. There's a lot of Chinese presence in Africa, a big Chinese presence. There's books written called China's Second Continent, talking about how much they're moving into Africa because China is trying to become a world superpower. They are on the verge of being the new Russia to the U.S. If you don't know the Cold War, what that was all about between Russia and the U.S. was the world's two superpowers. And what you have here again is the world's two superpowers, or another superpower again rising up to challenge the U.S. And part of maintaining that control and supremacy is maintaining access to Africa. And the West, as in Europe and the U.S., has pretty much largely not burned their bridges, but they have a very bad relationship with Africa because of all the colonialism and the neo-colonialism that they've been running on the Africans, the economic colonialism, where they're pretending to give the African governments back their independence, but really all they're doing is setting up puppet regimes that keep the people poor and uneducated. And these puppet regimes, their job is to, as long as they do the bidding of the West, they can stay in power, and they'll have the support of the West to stay in power and live lavishly and be corrupt. And this is the common condition throughout Africa that's destroying Africa. And whenever they cannot control you, like Robert Mugabe, for example, they just excuse me for that. They just economically sanction you to death, or they take you out like they did Muammar Gaddafi. Now, you can say what you want about those men, that they were cruel, that they're evil, whatever. That's another debate or discussion for another day. But the bottom line is that whether they are corrupt or evil to their own people or not, they are some of the few leaders that were willing to stand up to the West, and they're examples of what will happen to you if they can't economically destroy you like they did. And don't get it twisted. They planned on moving in on Zimbabwe too, but they realized how that would look like neocolonialism, and it would be a bad look on the world stage. So they decided to go with the sanctions. And if you don't know, part of what's going on with Zimbabwe is that Robert Mugabe is kicking out all the white people who inherited stolen wealth and tried to turn it over back to the black people there, and that was demonized. Of course, they use white supremacist talking points like, well, the Africans are too ignorant to own the land and control the power, and that's why Zimbabwe is in the condition it's in. No, Zimbabwe has one of the highest literacy rates in all of Africa. It is not an issue of ignorance, okay? It is an issue of economic sanctions, where a country that is surrounded by borders is forced to pay more for everything. Again, these are more to really break it down. It's more complex topics that I probably should save for another video. But long story short, it makes it harder for them to trade, and it makes their economy just weak and ineffective. And it was already a weak economy, and then you just made it worse by putting on sanctions for them, saying, hey, we need to stand up for ourselves. And the reason why it was already a weak economy is because the white supremacists made it that way, just like they make black communities economically struggling areas here. The white supremacists make economic deprivation. And they do it through a number of ways. But anyway, I was saying all that to talk about Obama was needed to regain Africa's trust. And just like over here, there's a lot of African coons from the Christianity. And that's another video I need to make about African coons. But there's a lot of Christianity over there. There's a lot of other religions, but there's a lot of Christianity over there, and we know where that came from. It's not a black Christianity. It's not a Hebrew Israelite Christianity. It's a straight up white Roman Catholic or Protestant European Christianity. And they also, because they've been systematically disenfranchised and made ignorant, like a lot of black people here are made ignorant. And that doesn't mean necessarily that you don't have education, because there's doctors and lawyers who are ignorant, especially if they're supporting Hillary or trying to denounce not voting. So Barack Obama was needed to gain access to Africa, and he could because he was a child of Africa. That's another thing that I don't think is a coincidence, from his father, a direct descendant of Africa, and someone who had spent time in Africa because of that. So he kind of could relate to the people. Like he lived in Kenya, or spent extensive amount of time in Kenya before his presidency. So when he went over there to make deals with the Kenyans and other people, for example, they were willing to embrace what he pushed on them wholeheartedly. The only thing that they're not willing to embrace and is homosexuality. The African countries are totally rejecting that. from Obama. That there, and maybe you can say that's because of the Christianity, or you can just say that that's just because it's not something that is African. Okay, and I'm not here to say that it is or it isn't, but that's another debate for another day. But that's really the only thing that they haven't accepted from Obama. But as far as like the trade and all of these things, everything is a reaction to the global. A lot of this stuff, like what they're not telling you and what's not being reported on in the news, is that the U.S. is building military bases rapidly in Africa. They are rapidly growing their military presence in Africa. Why? Because they are getting ready for a conflict, if necessary, with China over Africa. Because he who controls Africa controls the world. This is what the white supremacists know. This is what Western countries know. This is what China now knows. This is what black people don't know in America, and most importantly in Africa. Or black people all over the globe, but most importantly in Africa. They don't understand that he who controls Africa controls the world because of the richness of the resources there and the wealth that is derived from Africa. For example, I digress. I don't want to go too long on this little topic, but this is just backing up my case to why I feel like Obama was selected. He was given a domestic agenda and a foreign agenda. The foreign agenda was to reestablish and regain the West foothold in Africa. That's what it was for, is to regain the West control in Africa. For example, Cuba, that was not done out of goodwill. China is moving into Jamaica. You can Google this. China has a big deal with Jamaica where they're going to promise to economically reinvest in Jamaica. And we know, and this is the whole thing about self-reliance. When other countries come in to economically invest in you, it's not because they like you or because we just have this common unity of goodness between non-white peoples against the white man. It's none of that bullshit. There's a personal agenda. China wants a base near America. They want to gain influence in the Caribbean. So what did the U.S. do to counter that? Well, we can't continue this embargo on Cuba, or China can move in there, because that's another group of people we won't deal with. We're not dealing with, or punishing or economically sanctioning, and all that does is give China room to come in and say, "Hey, I'm not an asshole like the West," which is what I alluded to earlier, which is why Obama needed to get in office, because other countries have this feeling about the West, and when I say the West, I refer to U.S. and Europe. That's why Obama reopened quote unquote relations with Cuba. It was because of China. That's why he has a base in Australia now. They're trying to put a base in Australia. Everything that's being done across the globe right now, especially when it comes to military positioning and economic trade, especially when it comes to military and economic affairs, a lot of these decisions are directly related to China and countering China's growth. All right. That's why I said it. China's in Africa. Now the U.S. wants to regain its foothold in Africa, so that's what Obama was for. I don't think that was a coincidence. I don't think that Obama was put up by coincidence. I believe he was selected in order to carry out an agenda. His domestic agenda was to allow terrorism to return to black people, and all they would have to do was go and point to, hey, it's a black president in office. And now we can turn up the extermination campaign on the Africans we have here that we don't know what to do with, because ever since slavery, we've been a question to America. We've been a problem. What to do with the Negro? It's just like with the Jewish question in Nazi, the final solution to the Jewish problem, or whatever you want to call it, the Jewish question. I think it was a Jewish problem, but it's the same thing. There's a solution. There's a final solution to the Negro question, and that's extermination. If they can't deport us, which they can't legally, and a lot of us will fight them and rightfully so to a degree, because we did build America. But on the other hand, if they were to give us reparations in a land of our own, um, then we should be willing to leave, but not just without nothing, you know. But we might have to, because we're never going to get, I mean, not to say never, but it's highly unlikely that we will ever get reparations from the dominant society, from the white supremacists, whoever you want to call it, from the U.S. government. It's highly unlikely that we will ever get reparations. So, is leaving an option that we should consider? Yes, but it's not something that we should allow ourselves to be forced have done to us forcibly. So that's why I say, to a degree, I can understand why some of us might fight the white supremacists if they were to try to deport us, which is why they can't. But a lot of us would just fight them because we're just that attached to America. You know, they could be offering us a check in a land of our own to leave, and we still wouldn't leave. All right, and that's the deep, which relates to this topic, the deep seated coonery and self sabotage that is embedded in black people. But anyway, I was saying that to say Obama was not put in office by coincidence. Now, what the elites want us to do is to believe that we elected who they selected, because let's say I'm the secret and I don't believe necessarily in Illuminati per se. I don't believe in that, but I do believe that there's somebody. There are people, maybe they're just CEOs or the richest people in the world, or the Rothschilds, or whoever you may want to think, the Rockefellers, right? There's these conspiracy theories, which I don't know whether or not they're true, but all I'm saying is that there's somebody that beyond who we see, beyond who we see in office, that is controlling things and making decisions for the people. Now, whoever these people are, I don't know. If I did, I'll probably be dead, right? But I don't know who they are, but they put Obama in office, but they want us to elect who they selected. Because if I'm whoever the global elites are, if I'm the king of the world or whatever, what I would have to do is to prevent revolution, is to make the people think that they are choosing who is put in office. But what's the best way to make people think that they chose who put in office? Is if they chose who put in office. So if I put up two people who I chose, and then I tell you to go, everybody to go out and vote for this person, or vote between these two people, and they choose one of the people, nobody, or at least especially not the people who voted for the person who I put up, is going to think that, or suspect for even a moment, that person was put in office outside of their power, because they went to the polls and voted for him. So why are you going to, if I go out there and vote for Hillary and 10 other people go out there and vote for Hillary, and then she wins, and we're all talking among ourselves, and we say, yeah, I voted for Hillary, yeah, I voted for Hillary too, yeah, I voted for Hillary 3, and let's say all 10 of us were the people who decided the election, none of us are going to suspect that Hillary was not put in office by our power, especially after we voted for her and she won. Even though what we don't know is that somebody else put her in power or chose her to be in power before we ever selected her, knowing that that's who we would choose based on how he ran his propaganda. And that's why I think Obama was allowed and chosen to win the presidency, because this was a time where they not only knew that white Americans could possibly tolerate a black man being in office without losing their shit, especially once they see how he can't do anything for black people, they're not going to lose their shit. And I think that they knew, as I just discussed earlier, that Obama was needed to infiltrate or regain access to Africa. And that also conveniently gave them the shield they needed to turn up extermination on black people. And am I saying that every little white terrorist who's killed us, white terrorist cop, was connected to the Illuminati or something? No, but I think that there was kind of I don't even know if it was a decree or what it was, but just an understanding that what we have been doing to black people, we can continue to do. And once we see that Obama will not protect them, we can do it times 10. And I think that's what's been going on with these police executions, is because we didn't see it turn up like it did in the president's first term. It really got bad in the second term. And that's when they realized that, that's once white people could calm down and say, hey, okay, he's not a threat. This is not the rise of the new Black Panther America. He ain't going to do shit for them. So we can continue on as we have been. This is just like when we allowed black mayors and black congressmen, and they couldn't do shit to stop white supremacy. It's the same thing. And they were like, okay, nothing to be scared of. Nigger president don't really mean shit. And they were allowed to turn up their terrorism on us. And of course, President Obama can do things for every other group but us. That's why he stood up and spoke out for gays. He took executive actions for immigrants and Latinos. And I'm talking about what he did power-wise. He took executive actions for women. He took legislative and or executive actions for specific groups of people. He did not say to women when he signed the Little Ledbetter Act, well, I'm the president of men too, so I can't do this for you. He didn't say to gay people to stop enforcing DOMA, which is the Defense of Marriage Act that President Bush put in place. I'm going to strip this because I'm the president of straight people too. He didn't say to Latinos and immigrants, well, I'm the president of Americans, people who are actually citizens of this country, so I can't do nothing for you immigrants. Didn't say that either. Okay? Only us do we get this, oh, I'm the president of all people, so I can't do nothing for you. What did we get? We got, at best, My Brother's Keeper, which is a mentorship program that any celebrity could have started. He used the power of his celebrity to start a mentorship program. It's non-governmental. It's non-legislative. Didn't take no pen to paper. Nothing in his office. Nothing to do with his job as president. But he started a community mentorship organization called My Brother's Keeper, which is something he could have done as a community organizer or something that any other celebrity can do. It has nothing to do with him being the president, which is what he is the president. So when people try to make these weak excuses in defense of Obama, well, what'd you expect him to do for black people? He did all he could. And again, I'm going to take that same argument and use it again a little later. But all that, what could he do for black people? He's not, he blah. Well, he did something, the same thing he did for everybody else. Specific legislation that has something to do with his office as presidency. Not none of this bullshit he's talking now, none of this offensive shit he's talking now, where he's been putting out hints that he'll be more active in the black community once he gets out of office. That's bullshit. Even if he is, too little too late, sir. Sorry. No, unless you want to turn into the second coming of Khalid Abdul Muhammad. There's not much you can do for us, President Mr. Obama, outside of office. So unless you're going to become that radical out after office, there's nothing you can do to make up for the level of coonery and devastation and death that you stood by and watched happen to black people. Okay? Nothing you can do. But anyway, I went on that sidetrack. Back to Hillary. So do I know what Hillary's domestic and foreign agenda is? No, not yet. We'll see when she gets in office. But what I do know, or what I do suspect, is that she was selected, and Trump is her guaranteed ticket. And that goes back to what I was saying about how they want us to think that we chose who got in the presidency. So they want you to vote for who they chose. And Trump is the perfect anti-liberal to terrorize people into voting for liberals, even people who wouldn't normally be a liberal voting for a liberal, which is exactly what's happening, because what they've made Trump is everything that seems innocent about liberals, he's been the guilt of it. Like, liberals promote that they're anti-racist. So what has Trump been? Racist. Just everything, like I said. And that's really what it is. Liberals are the party of, even though Republicans are also, liberals are really the party of inclusiveness, of political correctness, whatever. Trump, that's why a lot of people are saying that Republicans kind of made Trump, or they brought Trump on themselves, which they did. But the reason why they say that is because, Republicans have already, even though they're politically correct to a degree, are very politically correct also, they're also very willing to be racist, a lot more openly racist than liberals. They're also willing to do all those things, again, still to a politically correct degree, which is why Republicans are not the anti-liberals, because they won't do it to the degree that Trump does. They won't be the opposite of liberals to the degree that Trump is. And so they kind of knew that this would produce an extreme reaction in a lot of people and usher a lot of people to Hillary, which is what they want. Is us to choose who they chose for us. But even if Trump is not pre-selected, for example, I still believe that they're sabotaging his campaign. Again, we can go back to what she did with Bernie Sanders. It's proven that they've rigged the Democratic primary. This is done in the emails. There's a couple of people who've come out, who were Bernie Sanders supporters, who've come out with a lot of evidence that she rigged the primary against Bernie Sanders. And don't get me wrong, I don't like Bernie, and I'm gonna put my blog article in the link to the description box of like what I think about Bernie. I don't like Bernie. Bernie is not for black people. Bernie was not our friend, and I feel like the black people like Killer Mike and other people who were supporting him were misguided. All right. But because, first of all, Bernie doesn't support reparations. Bernie signed the crime bill that the Clintons put on us. So I don't. And Bernie was a damn civil rights marcher, which, don't get me wrong, that's better than what Hillary was doing. She was campaigning for the Trump of her day, Barry Goldwater, who said some stuff just as bad, if not worse, than Trump, especially racially. So that's another thing. But Bernie ain't that much better than Hillary. But I would, of course, rather him than Trump or Hillary. But at the same time, I'm not no Bernie supporter. I don't think he's a friend of black people. That's a misguided thinking that some of our people have taken on, that Bernie's a friend of black people. He's not. But anyway, back to my discussion, and this is why are black people voting part 2. Even if the election is not rigged the way I think it is, right? Where Trump is not just put up to scare people into voting to Hillary, so people will think that they chose Hillary. Because, again, one last thing on my conspiracy theory. When President Obama and all these people were coming out to campaign for Hillary, there was this sense of panic. Like, why are all these Hillary people coming out to campaign for her? Why is Obama and these people coming out threatening people who they know are not voting, which they pick up from monitoring us on social media and stuff like that? Why is Obama making a point to talk to people who ain't gonna vote? And it's almost like they know Hillary's losing, or the race is really, really close. But when you look at all the polls, Hillary's up by like 15 points in every state. So it's like, what's the panic? What was the panic then? What's the panic now that Trump can win? And to me, what it is that they have real polls where they know what people are really thinking. And the real polls are saying that Trump is ahead or tied or very close. But they know that they're going to make Hillary win. So they put out polls that say Hillary's way ahead, even though they know in reality the results they got said differently. But they're going to tell you the results are different because it serves a mind control purpose, and it controls it serves a CYA cover your ass purpose. So if people say, hey, this election seems funny, I don't think Hillary really won. They can say, well, look at the polls. The whole time she was 15 points ahead. How is this? Of course she won. She's been ahead for 8 months. But it's like, if she's been ahead for so long, why are people basically going into panic mode kind of with the campaigning, and B, why are they making such an effort to denounce not voting and saying that that's a vote for Trump? How's that? What if that's people that might have otherwise voted Republican, but they're just so disgusted by the Republican nominee? That means that those votes are votes that could have been for Hillary, right? So Trump supporters can say not voting is a vote for Hillary. So this is what I'm saying. These are the reasons why it's suspect that she's not selected and guaranteed to go in office. But even if she's not, in that sense, where Trump was put up to be a fake counter to her, which is possible. Trump could have been genuinely elected by the amount of feral white supremacists that are in this country. But even if that's the case, what I'm saying is that Hillary is so unlikable and so disliked by conscious black people who knows the terrorism that she reigned on Libya as Secretary of State, for example, the terrorism that she supported her husband Bill, between the terrorism, domestic mass incarceration terrorism here, to her treatment of black countries like Haiti, or his treatment of countries like Haiti, black countries like Haiti, etc., etc. I'm not talking about what they did with the Clinton Foundation. See, that's one thing, which they did. But then there's other things like what they did with the rice, where that was one of Haiti's main crops. And what they did was they got the people to stop growing their own rice and importing rice. And this is what the white supremacists do all over the country. They come in. If you have things that you don't need to buy from them, like rice, like fish, they'll do things like poison your fish supply, put chemicals in your soil to make crops stop growing so they can sell those crops to you. This is literally what they do. This is how wicked they are. Okay? This is what they do. This is what the Clintons did to Haiti. Now, I don't have all the details in front of me off the top of my head, what they did to make Haiti stop growing their own rice, but they did it. You can Google this. All right, you can do all this research on your own. They economically undermined Haiti while Bill Clinton was in office, so much to the point where Bill Clinton came out later and said that it was a mistake. All right, just like he came out and said it was a mistake to do the crime bill. It wasn't no damn mistake. You're just sorry that you got caught. All right, that's like fucking Bush saying the Iraq war was a mistake. No, it wasn't a mistake. A mistake is something you do on accident. You did that intentionally with the desired results that you got out of the action. And now you're sorry that it's been exposed that you shouldn't have been doing it. That's what you're sorry about. That's what Bill Clinton is sorry about in Haiti and here with us. That's what Hillary's sorry about. Okay? But again, and like I said, even if the election is not predetermined, it's still rigged in the fact that, like I said, Hillary is so hated that I believe that there's a possibility that Trump is actually ahead in this election. And I want Trump to win. Why do I want Trump to win? Not because I support his policies, not because I think he's a good person, but because he is going to force black people to wake up. It's going to put the dividing line down for black people. Either you're going to be a full blast coon, and we know that there's nothing we can do with you, that you can't be saved, that you can't be helped, that you can't be redeemed, or it's going to be time to stop cooning and start getting on this black empowerment game. All right? That's the only two options we got with Trump. It's going to force people to go full coon, just max level coon, or it's going to make them stop all the cooning. It's going to make them stop the cooning for liberals. It's going to make it, because nobody can save you. That's what it's going to do. It's going to make black people say, no more cooning. These white supremacists are serious. We got to be serious too. All right. I think Trump is the best thing that could happen to black people in this country right now. For those reasons. All right. But anyway, like I said, I think, because I'm not voting, and I think they know that so many people who would have voted for a Democrat in this situation understand that Hillary's corrupt, and they're voting third party, or they're not voting. And I think that's enough to make Hillary lose if the elections were not rigged in her favor. I mean, you got articles where they're showing that they're making signs for Hillary supporters. Literally, they're giving them out. They're giving them handmade signs to make it seem like they made the sign. She doesn't fill up rooms. She doesn't pack out stadiums like Trump does. I just don't see the level of enthusiasm for Hillary that I see for Trump. Just like Bernie was filling up stadiums and had all these followers, but he still lost. And then it comes out some months later that it's suspected that it was rigged against him in favor of Hillary. You know, these Podesta emails and these things that come out. It could be the same thing going on with Trump. Okay? All the visual evidence, all the surface evidence supports that Trump has a bigger following. But yet, every time you go to the polls, every time you take a poll, every time you go actually out to vote, Hillary's winning in a landslide. It's the same thing with Trump. It don't seem right. And just like it turned out to basically not have been right with Bernie, to possibly have been a rigged situation with Bernie, even if it wasn't like I said, and the Bernie rigging could be explained by either rigging conspiracy. It could be explained by the fact, like I said, elites already chose Hillary, so Bernie was just there to allow it to be challenge her, to again give the appearance of democracy. Or it could be, like I said, maybe not a global elites deal, but the Hillary campaign themselves is that crooked that they're willing to rig elections like that. All right, if they can get away with it. So again, back to Trump and Hillary. So let's say if it's not even that, the elections are still rigged in the fact that the Democrats and the Republicans, and this is really what I wanted to get to, control who we choose from. There is no lesser of two evils, okay? First of all, people like to talk about black people, for example. Our ancestors died for this. Okay. No, they didn't. Some of them did, but not all of them. W.E.B. Du Bois in 1956 said that there are not two parties, but there is but one party with two evil names, and it will be elected despite all I do or say. All right? He was one of our ancestors. He was one of our great leaders. He wasn't for voting. He didn't die for us to vote. Elijah Muhammad, famously, and all his disciples, Malcolm X, even after Malcolm fell out with Elijah, he was still preaching this. Khalid Muhammad told us not to vote. Neely Fuller, if you follow his school of thought, he tells us, he doesn't necessarily tell us not to vote, but again, he says it's all white supremacy, so what are you voting for? It's not like it's making a difference for you. Okay? So many people. Marcus Garvey, he said we don't engage in domestic politics or church building. Again, he compared what? Church and politics. He said we don't deal in that. We are engaged in nation building. Okay? These people understood that, again, and I talked about earlier, voting, especially on the national level, is not going to do anything for us. It's not. And telling me that our ancestors died for us for the right to vote is folly, when many of our ancestors were against us voting. Okay? Another thing you guys need to understand is we had the right to vote since 1870. That's shortly after slavery. So why do we need a voting rights act almost 100 years later that they're now stripping down in order to vote? Oh, because it was a trick bag. Like almost like integration was, like so many other things, it was a trick bag, like all offers to engage in white society are. The end of slavery was a trick bag. Voting was a trick bag. Integration was a trick bag. Okay? Again, with voting, Lyndon Johnson, same president who signed a lot of those bills, who signed the Civil Rights Bill, said of it, we have to give, and I'm paraphrasing, we have to give these Negroes something, not enough to make a difference. Not enough to make. Now, think about what black people are going through now. The fact that the wealth gap got worse since integration, mass incarceration went up, our families became destroyed, our communities became a lot more crime riddled. We lost all our businesses. We lost the quality of education that we were getting from black schools, which was a high quality education, despite the fact that they were giving us subpar materials. Books and textbooks, and we would get the 13-year-old textbooks from the white elementary school. We still had a high quality education, okay, and a lot of education that was producing a lot more productive and vibrant black community than what we have today. All right. So anyway, like I said, with the voting thing, our ancestors died for us the right to vote. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Some of them did, but not all of them. What they died for us to have the right to do is to self-determine and advance ourselves. And engaging in a placebo that's not going to do anything for us, because again, the same excuse that you use to defend why Obama has done nothing for us is the same excuse that justifies why we shouldn't vote. If the president can't do anything for us, even if Trump wins, he can't do anything to us, right? If Obama couldn't pass reparations, what makes you think Trump is going to pass a law to reinstate slavery? If the president don't have power like that, so we can't put all that blame on Obama. So why all the fear of Trump? We can't put blame on Obama because he don't really have power like that. So why are we going to put fear of Trump because he don't really have power like that either? And as you've seen in the campaigns, a lot of the Republicans are against him. Supposedly, all these good Republicans, if you even believe in this system. So to me, it's like, what can happen to us? What can be done to us if Trump wins? Because if Obama couldn't do nothing by your logic, then Trump can't do nothing. Unless you're admitting, which a lot of these niggas won't admit, that Obama could have done something, but he chose not to. Which again, it means if Trump can do something to us, good, bring it on. Because it's going to put an abrupt stop to the cooning. Either that or it's going to make the coons go full coon. There's going to be no middle ground. And once they go full coon, we know who they are. You might as well be an enemy to us. You might as well be a white supremacist once you go full coon. Okay, nothing that can be done for you. You gotta go. All right, and people can take that how they want to, but them people gotta go. One way or another, they gotta go. All right. And I know I'm kind of rambling or whatever, but anyway, what I was saying about our system, our two-party system, and how the elections are still rigged, even if there's not elites, and even if Hillary's not rigging the election, and the media is all in. This is again other things too, like with the Trump fake outrage, when Bill Clinton has over 27 accusers, stuff like this. Books have been written, but nobody's talking about that. And don't tell me that Bill isn't running for president. Neither was Nate Parker. Neither was Bill Cosby. But their rape cases became relevant. So why isn't Bill Clinton's rape case relevant when he's about to be in the damn White House, regardless of whether he's going to be president or not? His victims have to look at that rapist. All right. This is the fake outrage. with Nick Parker and Bill Cosby, but nobody has fake outrage about Bill Clinton because it's inconvenient to have fake outrage about him, which proves that the outrage about Nick Parker and Bill Cosby is fake. Okay? But I digress. Republicans and Democrats, these two parties that we have, that in itself is election rigging. They block out third parties. Listen, if the people choose the president, I should have just as good a chance as Trump or Hillary as getting in the presidency. So the very fact that they are telling you that you do not have, that some certain candidates do not have a chance, is an admission that you don't control who gets in the office. The media is trying to tell you, hey, we choose who gets in the office by who we decide to cover, who we decide to treat as a serious candidate, who we decide to not treat as a serious candidate, because we know that you are going to go along with whatever we say. And we say, as in the media, which is part of the dominant society and the elitism that controls America, is dictating to you by saying that to you. And a lot of you believe it, which is why you go out and say Trump can't win. Jill Stein can't win. Gary Johnson can't win. Evan McMullin or any of these other third party candidates can't win. You say that because you know we don't choose the presidency. And you know that the media told you who chooses the presidency, which is them, by telling you who does and who doesn't have a chance. That's number one, by saying voting third party is voting for someone who doesn't have a chance. Says who? Hillary don't have a chance if you don't, and I said this in part one, you don't vote for her. Trump don't have a chance if you don't vote for him. So if we're truly choosing the presidency, of course Jill Stein don't have a chance if you don't vote for her. But again, that goes back to the fact that the media tells you they don't have a chance in order to get you to not vote for them, and then you do exactly what they want. Don't vote for them because you think they don't have a chance. And two, again, this goes back to the understanding of the Electoral College. How did Al Gore lose the presidency even though he won the popular vote if the people choose the president? Because we don't. They admit to you that the Electoral College chooses the president. And this is why voting third party, especially if you don't live in a swing state, which is why the presidential candidates only campaign in the swing states, Ohio, Florida, Virginia, etc., that could go either red or blue, because it don't matter who you vote for in a blue state. All your votes, all the Electoral College votes that ultimately decide the presidency is going to Hillary because it's a blue state. If you live in a blue state. If you live in a red state like I do, it don't matter who I vote for. All my votes are still going towards Trump. They don't count individual votes except to decide the Electoral College, which is how we've had not just George Bush, but we've had other presidents lose the popular vote and still win the Electoral College, thus becoming president of the United States. And according to this logic, if voting for someone who ultimately does not win is a wasted vote, voting for anybody other than the red candidate in a red state is a wasted vote, and voting for anybody other than the blue candidate is a wasted vote in a blue state. Not only that, even if you vote for the red candidate in a red state or the blue candidate in a blue state or whichever candidate in a swing state, if your candidate does not win, you still wasted your vote. If the only defense against voting third party is it's a waste of vote, they can't win, etc., it is a political strategy to not vote, because what it signals to the elites of this society, whoever they may be, whether it's just the media and Hillary or if it's some Illuminati type group of men behind the curtain. All right. Like I said, I don't believe in Illuminati themselves, but I do believe in something like that, being very possibly being in charge of national and global affairs. All right. Whether it's, like I said, just people we see, like I said, the media, the CEOs, the president, whoever, or if it's some dark secret cult, whoever it is It is a signal to them that the way you're running things, not letting us choose who we want, not giving us true choice in the presidency, telling us certain people do and don't have a chance. Says who? Not the people, the media, and then the dumbass people who repeat what the media says to them. But the people choose, and that's a signal that if we did not vote in a large enough group, it would be a signal that revolution is coming. Don't say that we have to necessarily go full revolution, but again, that would prove my point as to why they have the voting process in the first place, is to prevent revolution and to make people think that they are having a say in affairs that they really don't have a say in. All right. Because once you notice you don't have a say in the affairs, you got two choices: full submission or full revolt. Okay? And they don't want that. And so not voting is a political strategy. Voting third party is a political strategy. Because like I said, first of all, it doesn't matter unless you live in a swing state who you vote for. And number two, that person only has a chance if somebody ever gets up and has the balls to vote for him. Just like Hillary only has a chance if somebody votes for her. Trump only has a chance if somebody votes for him. Unless, again, like I said, you're admitting that we're not choosing who has a chance and who doesn't. Therefore, we're not really choosing the presidency. It's like me putting a shit sandwich in front of you and say, eat the shit sandwich or I'm going to shoot you, and I got a gun too. Technically, I gave you a choice. Or let me give a more realistic example. A woman is being raped, and she's being raped at gunpoint. The rapist says, take this rape or I'm going to shoot you. Technically, he gave the woman a choice. Technically, she can choose rape or she can choose death. Yeah, I mean, and if she chose rape, I mean, honestly, you could ultimately argue, if we're going by that logic, that wasn't even rape because she chose it, right? This is the argument that people make when they claim that this Republican and Democrat that they put in front of us is a choice. It's not a choice. If that's a choice, then me holding a gun to a woman's head and telling her to choose between the gun or the rape, that's a choice. If telling somebody that they can only choose between these two candidates and these are the only two people that have a chance to win, so you got to vote for one of them, that ain't no choice. That's literally putting a gun in your head, and that's literally what Hillary supporters are doing. They're putting a gun called Trump to your head and saying, vote for Hillary or I'm gonna shoot you with Trump. That's literally what they're doing. So again, I say to you, family, say to you, you don't have a choice. I don't understand why black people are voting, period. But if you must vote, you should be going out to vote for third party. But all of this, we gotta, again, and then this is back to Trump. What is Trump going to do that has not already been allowed under Obama and Clinton? Is he going to mass incarcerate us? Too late. That's already happened. Is he going to allow police to start executing us in the streets? Too late. It's already happened. What's going to happen is he going to allow our employment rate to be far below every other race's? Already happened. Is he going to allow us to have the highest rate of abortions, which is genocide to our race? Already happening. Is he going to allow us to be disparately targeted for drug crimes, even though white people use drugs more than us? Already happening. So what's going to happen under Trump that has not already happened under Obama and Clinton? And again, your same defense of Obama. He can't do it all. He can't do everything. He can't just come out and be the Superman for black people. If that's the case, then President Trump can't come out and just be the ultimate villain. He can't be the ultimate anti-Superman, the Joker, or whatever with black people. He can't do that. He doesn't have the power. The same way Obama didn't have the power to save us, Trump doesn't have the power to destroy us like that. Unless you're admitting he does, which again is a condemnation of Obama and the amount of power he had that he chose to not act upon and save his own people. So nothing you say to me can logically go around the fact that black people should not be voting or if we do vote third party for someone who's actually promising to do things, policy reform for black people, stuff like reparations, tangible plans to stop mass incarceration, like releasing prisoners as soon as she gets. This is things Jill Stein has promised. What does Hillary promise? Oh, police reform, which is basically giving cops more money to not be racist, which they should already know, which they already have training on. Yeah, you see them saying millions and billions of dollars they got to buy tanks and all that shit. You should have been using that on sensitivity training and all that. But here's the thing: they already have sensitivity training and all that shit. They already have that. You just gonna give it to them more. So you're not doing anything to change anything. If anything, you're just gonna encourage the cops to be a little bit more politically correct about their white supremacy. Hey, all right, man. Next time, don't execute the nigga. Just tase him and beat his ass. Don't execute him. We got a jail for that. All right. That's all. That's just plant some drugs on him. That's all. That's really all that sensitivity training is gonna accomplish. Don't kill so many niggas. Just frame a few more. Okay. If you got to get your white supremacist rocks off, just frame a few more. Just disproportionately target a few more, but don't kill them. That's all gonna happen. All right, white cops have known not to be racist for fucking 5 decades, and it ain't changed shit. All right, so all that police form and all these trick bags that ain't gonna really do nothing. All right, and which is the only thing that she's offering. She's not offering nothing that's gonna help sustain or uplift black people. All right. The only thing that she's promising to even give resources towards is, again, the police, not black people. Nothing to raise out the conditions of our communities. Nothing to raise the conditions of our education. Nothing to actually raise up black people. The best she's gonna do is offer some damn dollars for some police officers to sit in a room with a social worker and be told racism is bad, which they can turn on CNN to see. To get that memo that racism is bad. All right. And again, the things that Hillary has done in the past versus are not directly Hillary or Hillary alone, but the things that Hillary has done directly and indirectly as the supportive wife of Bill Clinton. I'm more scared of Hillary getting in office because, as I explained, why Trump could be the best thing for black people, that's why Hillary will be the worst thing, because all she's going to do is put black people back to sleep while this terrorism continues. And even maybe ramps up. I won't be surprised if she ramps it up, because I'm telling you right now, Hillary don't like black people. You can see that by her very racial attacks towards Obama during the 2008 campaign. Now all of a sudden they're best friends. But she had very racial attacks towards President Obama. There's reports out there that her and Bill were talking about how so and so many years ago Obama would have been serving us, bringing us our coffee. I'm paraphrasing, but something to that degree. You can look that up too. Obama would have been serving us coffee or something, but basically Obama would have been a slave to us back in the day. That's what Hillary was saying said about Obama. She don't like black people, and if anything, our condition is going to get worse when she gets in office. All right. And it'll be implemented by her. And then once again, 20, 30, 40, 50 years later, it'll be exposed that Hillary was saying all kind of racist shit in the White House the same way Lyndon Johnson was as he signed the Civil Rights Bill. But of course, all the Negroes will be old and stupid and probably be today's modern version of civil rights Negroes. And again, the Black Lives Matter, that is another civil rights integrationist movement. And again, a lot of the black people from that generation are supporting Hillary. So these things are not coincidental. The civil rights integrationist Negroes are supporting the candidate that's going to has already proven that she will destroy black people and will destroy us again. The same acceptance fuel driven coons that were won the black civil war between them and black nationalists back then, which I need to do another video about that. But them same Negroes are the same ones today. John Lewis, these coons, supporting Hillary now, and like I said, how the Black Lives Matter, Black liberal, basically the modern day civil rights Negroes, they're gonna be that same coon with egg on their face 50 years from now, having supported Hillary, and then come to find out she was planning all kind of terrorism against black people in office. You know, of course she'll probably be dead and all that by then, because that's what they always do. They always wait till these terrorists are dead, then they go ahead and let you know that they were a terrorist. But again, I'm rambling, family. Hopefully I didn't go off on any one tangent too much where I lost you. But the point is black people should not be voting. If not voting causes Trump to win, that's a good thing. Voting for Hillary is voting for your own destruction. Okay? I'll close with a George Carlin quote, and I'll probably use that as my as the thumbnail to this video, because I want you guys to really think about this. People say, if you don't vote, you have no right to complain. But where's the logic in that? And I'm paraphrasing, because you guys are going to be looking at the quote. So let me not try to quote him when I know I'm not going to quote him correctly. But basically, but where's the logic in saying that if you vote, you have no right to, if you don't vote, you have no right to complain? No. If you vote and you elect corrupt, dishonest, and corrupt politicians, and they get in office and screw everything up, you are responsible for what they have done. You voted them in. You caused the problem. You have no right to complain. You niggas are going to vote for Hillary, who's going to win. All of this fear about Trump maybe winning, she's not going to win. I'm telling you now. Could have told you in fucking January. I could have told you whenever. Hillary's not going to win. You niggas who are voting for Hillary are voting for our destruction. And I'm holding you directly accountable for any terrorism that happens to black people domestically or overseas for the next 8 years. And anything that comes out after the next 8 years that was done during the next 8 years, I'm holding you responsible for. You voted her in. You caused the problem. You are to blame. I didn't vote for none of these damn corrupt ass politicians. I'm not putting them in office. I'm not responsible for what they've done. But you are. You went out. You voted for Hillary. You voted for our destruction out of fear of Trump, which is exactly what they want you to do. Like I said, they're holding a gun called Trump to your head and say, vote for Hillary or I'm shooting you with Trump. That's not a choice. It's not a choice, family. Not a choice at all. And y'all need to wake up and realize this. The quicker you do, the better off we'll all be. Again, you can't tell me voting third party is a wasted vote. That's bullshit. Because they don't have a chance. That's bullshit. Says who they don't have a chance? Your media daddy? Who says who they don't have a chance? I should have a chance. All right. And then two, like I said, the evidence that based on the Electoral College and the fact that the popular vote, meaning the president who the people chose, can still lose, and they'll openly admit that the people didn't choose this person, but they still lost because of the Electoral College. That's another admission that you don't really choose the president. So no matter how you look at this, from a conspiracy angle or a practical angle, it's not practical for black people to vote. Too many black leaders have advised us not to vote. All right, too many. Marcus Garvey, Elijah Muhammad, even W.E.B. Du Bois, even though he was a boule sabotaging coon earlier in his life, when he became a Pan-Africanist and admitted that Marcus Garvey was right, he said stop voting. And again, these men said this in the 1950s, most of them are. Marcus Garvey in 1920. We already had the right to vote when they said this. But we didn't really have the right to vote because it was a trick bag. But we already have the right to vote to say this. That's why they were speaking about voting. Why would you tell people not to vote when they can't? Why would even Marcus Garvey in the 1920s, 40 years before the Voting Rights Act, tell black people we don't engage in domestic politics when it don't matter because you can't vote anyway? We technically had the right to vote then, but it wasn't doing nothing for us then like it ain't doing nothing for us now. So stop telling me that my ancestors died for us to vote. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. If anything, they died for us to have rights. and to have justice. And we're not getting that from voting. If anything, we're hurting ourselves by voting, because we're once again reminding the Democratic Party that they don't have to do anything to earn our votes, and the Republican Party that they don't have to do anything to try to earn our votes, because our vote is already decided. Don't nobody have to do nothing for us. All right, Democrats don't have to do nothing because they already got our votes, and the Republicans ain't got to do nothing because they know they already don't have our votes. So nobody has to try to win our votes. Democrats don't have to try to keep us. Republicans don't have to try to win us, which keeps both sides disrespecting us. But anyway, family, I've been going on. Thank you for listening. I'll be with y'all in another video. Peace.